Hi everyone, I'm Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group, and welcome to the Totally Wicked Q&A. If you are building or renovating or thinking about building and renovating, this is the place to be. So tonight we're going to be talking about where to find free council information. It's going to be a bit dry and a bit heavy. I'll try and keep it as light as possible, but it's super, super important information. And the majority of the clients that I talk to have absolutely no idea where to find all this stuff and that it's free. There are a few things that I will show you that are some paid things, but they're super cheap as well. So most of this stuff is free, and it's some really important information. So thank you so much for being here. We were a little bit behind, but that's okay. It's only by 2 minutes, so, who cares? Thank you for coming. We'll be getting started soon, giving people a chance to sign in. In the meantime, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at your comments. So please comment and tell me where you are. So what council are you in, or what state, what town? What I'm going to be trying to do tonight is do general for Australia in terms of where you would be able to find the information, but also a few specifics. So I'm going to specifically focus on Logan because it's one of the easiest to sort of navigate, both mentally and online navigation, but a lot of the councils are very much the same. So this will be all about what you can and can't do on your block, where you can find information, where you get reports from council on whether you've got easements, your title searches, things like that. So it'll be primarily Queensland based, but if you are from somewhere else, please let me know. And if we've got time, I'm happy to do some more specific stuff for you. So as always, please like, share, tag anyone you know who might benefit from this information. We'll be going for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And if you want to keep up to date with these Q&As, we do lots of stuff, whether it's me talking or me interviewing an expert, totally wicked expert in the field. So we've done things from landscaping, finance, kitchens. So we've got a lot of things on our Facebook page. Go and check them out. But if you want to keep up to date with what's coming up next, subscribe to our newsletter. The link to our newsletter should be going in soon in the chat. So just a little bit more of a background as to why we're doing this. The first thing is there's no sell here. This is literally just information. The more I talk to clients, the more I realized that they don't know about these sorts of things. So I'm trying to fill that gap. Because there's a lot of information in his head. There's a lot of experience. I've been working in the construction industry for a long time. And yeah, there's lots of things that you kind of forget that people don't know if they've never built a house or renovated before. So these Q&As are all about trying to fill those gaps. But if you have any questions or there's any topics you want these Q&As to cover, by all means, please comment and we will get them sorted as much as we can. The more you comment, the more we can help you. So don't sit on a question. What else have we got here? Oh, yes, a disclaimer. So this is all general information. Obviously, if you want to spend lots of money on building and renovating, get someone to help you with your specific needs. So if you need a town planner or you need a builder, or of course you can contact us and we can assist you. But make sure before you do anything, you look at your specific site, your region, because some of these things that I discussed tonight won't have anything to do with you. So Oh, yes, everyone can hear. Good. So where are you all? Which council are you in? Or which town are you in? Which state even? Tonight I'm going to touch a little bit on some of the places where I've lived. The Northern Territory being one of them, because the Northern Territory rules are really quite different to that in Logan or Brisbane. Yes, people can hear us. Good, that's excellent. Logan, Sunshine Coast, that's good. I actually haven't done anything in Sunshine Coast yet specifically, so that'd be very interesting to see how different they are. Yeah, so Logan, well, that's good because I was going to focus on Logan. So if you're thinking of renovating especially, what's one of the biggest, scariest things you think about dealing with council if you were say doing $150,000 renovation on your home? What are some of the things that really scare you? I'd like to know, because I'll tell you a little bit of a secret. Most architects don't want to deal with them either. Well, we have to. And town planners, I don't know why they knowingly go, yes, I want to do town planning and deal with council as my day job every single day. I don't know why people do that. All right. So while those questions are coming in, bear in mind, like, share, comment for anyone who think will be of benefit to this information. So the first thing we're going to start with is how to find title information. So usually if you purchase a home, you get the title deed, which effectively says what the parcel number is and the lot number and all of that sort of information, if there are any easements, those sorts of things. But a lot of people don't realise that you can actually find the site plans as well in that same area. So if you're looking at buying a block of land, it's a really good place to start to find out whether there's any easements. Also before you buy, and I'm just going to show you that now. Oh, no, this one here. So this is obviously the Queensland version, and I will make sure at the end of the night all of these links that I'm showing you will be in the comments, so that you don't get you don't have to sit there and write out all of this stuff. But, oh no, hang on, title searches, that was development code. Sorry, I skipped right to the end there. So yes, title searches. So this is the Queensland title searches. And you can buy the title searches and survey plans online. So usually when you purchase a house, you get your title searches for, you know, $20. But you can also get a survey plan. So that's really, really useful for a couple of reasons. It means you know exactly where your boundary is, the area of your land, which is really, really important, and I'll explain why later, if there are any easements on the property, and the shape of your land. So just because the road looks like it's straight doesn't necessarily mean that the front of your block of land is straight either. It could have a dogleg in it and you not actually know, because there could be an access for council in the corner of your block. So it's really, really important to get your plan correct. Now there should be a section in here that shows me an example of what that looks like. Here we go, look, so survey plan example. So this is obviously the street, example street, but when you zoom in, these sections here will show you all of the bearings. So you know, so this is a perfect example here of where you've got a dogleg happening. Or here, like there's a bit of the boundary that's sticking out over the top. What's going on there? You know, so this here is at an angle. This is a different parcel of land. So it's a really, really important thing that's sort of an essential step. And for the sake of, what was it, $20-something in Queensland, it's, you know, well worth it. So if you start with that, always a good place to start. Now, I have worked in New South Wales, South Australia, and several places in Queensland, and I've yet to find a council or territory government that does not have some form of mapping. Now, this is obviously the Northern Territory. This is where you find the majority of the council information that we're going to be going through tonight. And of course, it's free. So I've got a few open here. This one is the Northern Territory, and they operate a little bit different to other places in Queensland. So other places like Queensland, where they've got the whole state. I have a feeling it's because it's such a big area and there's minimal population in comparison. So the way it works is, you know, all of the information for Darwin is also here as Palmerston, even though they're two different cities. Whereas if we look at Queensland, the Gold Coast has their own mapping, which, you know, same thing, I can just zoom in and find my site. See, the more I zoom in, the more information I get. Brisbane City Council is the same thing. Just all in very similar formats. And they all have some form of overlay levels and layers and things like that that we will talk about later. But the idea being that if you are in Brisbane, you go to the Brisbane City Council e-plan, which again, I can put the link in at the end, and you just find your address and it will zoom straight to your address, and then you find out all of the information you need to about your address. So that being said, Logan is the only council that I've come across that has such a comprehensive development hub. When I first found this, I just went, oh my God, this is amazing. Everybody should do it. So I'm going to go through a few things here on how good it works. But if you are unlucky and you live in Brisbane, you can only really use the mapping. So I'll start with the mapping because it will be very similar for each of these different areas that we've gone through. So see, there we go, Brisbane City, Redland City, Gold Coast, and this is all Logan. So within each of these, you will have somewhere where you can type in an address. So for the purposes of this, I'm just gonna type in an address just randomly. There we go, Kingston, look at that, great. Boom, straight away it's taken me to this address, 10 Gilia Street, Kingston. Now, it has highlighted it first, and then it's also given me the lot number, and this is the parcel number. So this would be on your title as well, which would have been up here. So you would have had all that information in your property and title searches. What it also shows is the zone and the area and what precinct it's in. So this is where we can get a little bit technical. The zoning, when you're talking about development of any type, there's always a zone. So this is where we've got low density residential, but you could have low density commercial, you could have industrial, you could have high density residential, a whole manner of different things. And so this is basically telling you this is what can be built on this block of land without going through a whole heap of council meetings and submissions and the like. Because as soon as you have to go to a council meeting, you're doing something outside of what they're regulating for this area, for this zone. That's when it gets really tricky, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. You're better off purchasing a block of land to do with whatever it is that you want to do to begin with, as opposed to trying to change zoning later. Is this making sense to everybody? I just want to make sure I'm not, going a little bit too technical too soon. So please let me know in the comments if this is all making sense and if it's been helpful. Logan. Yep. Bear with me. There we go. That's a bit of a better option. Yes, I follow. Good. Okay. So you will get this with most of the maps. We'll also have these things over here. So overlays. Some council maps show these as different overlays. They call them different things, but most of the time they're called overlays. And basically what it is to show you if there is anything of any real problem over the top of the area or the site where you are. So the good news is for this block of land, there's no flooding, there's no acid soils, there's no bushfire corridor, all of this sort of stuff. Now this is where it gets really tricky, especially if you're in Brisbane City. Northern Territory is not that bad. The Gold Coast, there are some areas where they have their own very specific rules. I think Hope Island is one of those, so be aware of that one. But usually, I'll just zoom out a little bit and see if we can get something else happening in here. Yeah, there we go. Then you start getting, okay, so there you go, acid, sulfate soil. So this is where you kind of really don't want lots of colour on your block of land. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything. It's just, oh, there's lots of birds there, so don't clear a lot of your land or something like that. But if you get something like fire or flood, that's a bit of a problem. So keeping with this, another thing you can do with all of the interactive mapping is print out a report. So thank you, Ian. That's my husband just saying, I know all this, you tell me this all the time. Okay, so here we go. I'll just go back into here so you guys can see it a bit better. So this is where the hub changes a little bit, the Logan hub. So there's all of these little sort of bits and bobs in here that relate to the development, and because I've already selected a site, if I click on any of these, it will bring up that information. So here we go. What's this one? We'll hover on it. Property report. That's what we want. So again, this is all free. You can go on and look at anything in the Logan area in this online mapping. So same information we had before, low density res, suburban, overlays. There is a landslide, 15-degree slope, and the percentage of this block of land that's affected is 51%. That's okay. Residential overlay, that basically means you build houses on it, 100%. That whole area of land is 100% meant for living. So that's pretty simple. Sometimes you can get like 15 or 16 of these and then it becomes a bit of a problem, but this one is pretty good. But you can see there's a bit of a slope. You can, in the interactive mapping, turn on the contours and see what sort of a slope you're getting on the property, which we could just do now quickly in here somewhere. And of course, they're in, there we go, they're in different spots depending on where you are looking, which council you're looking at. But there you go. You see you've got your 40 meters goes across that way, like that. And then it falls down that direction. Just be aware, this is natural usually. So obviously it hasn't taken into account the cut and fill. So if there's a shed, existing shed down here, if you're buying an existing property, there might be a pad there and it hasn't been updated. So you just got to be a little bit careful, but at least it gives you an idea of where the street falls and where the actual whole area falls, because you've got to be wary of drainage. So this is another section, flood level report. Again, you don't want to be buying somewhere in a flood planning zone, especially if you're wanting to build, say, a granny flat or something like that. There is another really good section I want to show you, and I've just got to find it. Aha. Oh, yeah. So for this site, these are all the as constructed plans that relate to council. This isn't building plans, it's just the area around. So, and things like drainage. So here we go here. This is when it was originally constructed. So it might not be like that now if, say, maybe they've put a pool in and they've had to change this a little bit, but it's a really good starting point, especially if you're looking at buying. Or if you've already bought and the people before you didn't have any plans, you can start here. And if you then need more information from council, you can order more plans. So I don't think I've ever actually seen something this laid out as well as this in any other council. So it's kudos to Logan. This is really good. Now, let's have a look. Just checking to make sure I cover everything. Now, if I just go back home, I'm pretty sure it's this bit. Nope, that's not it. Bear with me. I guess this one. Aha, this is it. Right. I always get those two mixed up. So this is really cool. And this is the type of thing that answers most questions that people ask me as their initial thing. What can I do? Can I build a granny flat on my place in Kingston? So there's two ways you can do this. If you're wanting to buy somewhere where you can build a granny flat, then you click on the where can I do this? And you go through a clicking process of determining the zoning that you can do those specific things. Or in this case, I go, yep, this is where I'm living, which it isn't, it's just a random thing, but this street is where I'm thinking of buying. What can I do here? So if I click on here, I can actually go through all of the things that I could potentially want to do here. Now, granny flats, you need to be very careful about what you want to use them for. So there's two different options here. You've got the main house and then another granny flat that is for someone who is related to a person in the main dwelling. So literally you could have your grandma living out back or a teenager in their own little teenage hub. But if you wanted to later on rent that granny flat out when the teenager leaves and gets a job and gets their own place, that's a different requirement. There's different requirements. So to go down through here, we've got everything from a shop, retirement, residential, aged care, subdividing, and then we've got dwelling or house. which is just the main dwelling. Dual occupancy ancillary unit. So dual occupancy unit where both dwellings are owned by the same person on one land title, so it's not subdivided. And it is on a lot with a minimum size of 450 square meters, which is why knowing how big your block of land is very important. It has a maximum of 2 bedrooms, has no more than 1 kitchen, has no more than 1 living space, and has a maximum gross floor area of 70 square meters. So that's where it gets really important in terms of sizing and space and the requirements. As soon as you step out of these requirements, then you need to go to council and basically prove to them why they should allow you to do it. And we try and avoid to do that at all costs. So a dual occupancy is an auxiliary unit differs from a secondary dwelling in that 2 dwellings in a dual occupancy, that is an ancillary unit, may be occupied by different households. So a secondary dwelling must be occupied by persons who form one household, if that makes sense. What constitutes a living space? A living space is anything that is enclosed, that is, in terms of the building code, non-habitable space is bathrooms and carports and garages and things like that. But in terms of council, it usually means internal floor area. So it would include bathrooms, kitchens, non-habitable space internally. So usually what ends up happening in this situation is 70 square meters is dedicated to kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms and the like, and then there's a carport outside so that it doesn't add to the 70 square meters. So that's the ancillary unit. Dual occupancy means a residential use or premises of 2 households involving 2 dwellings. Doesn't matter if they're attached or detached. So you could even have a situation where you've got people living downstairs that are separate from people living upstairs, and that would fall under this category as well, whether it's attached or detached. So a separate lounge and dining area. No, that would all constitute. So Ian's just asked, so the separate lounge and dining area. So that would be a part of the same gross floor area. They're both treated the same and it would all be under that same situation. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to say, okay, we're going to do 2 households living in 2 dwellings, or whether attached or detached. I'm going to go next. Okay, so the great thing about this is it will actually say, oh, tick, yes, you can do that. That's great. A development application required? Yes, it is. But it's code accessible. I always struggle with that word, code accessible. So this is great. It means, yes, you can do this. And if you follow all the rules, it will be tick, tick, flick, stamp, pay, done. Sometimes this will not be code accessible, so I'll just go back and pick something that might not be. And we'll keep in maybe because I might be a bit small. Yes, there we go. So it says, well, you can still do it, but you've got to go to council for a proper meeting and say, right, we want to do this and these are the reasons why can we do it. So you've really got to justify why in this zone of low density residential on a 745 square meter survey plan, you want to have horses, I'm assuming, boarding, breeding or training animals. Yeah, wildlife refuge, those sorts of things. So perhaps if you had a wildlife refuge that was for, I don't know, maybe lizards, you might be able to get away with it if it's with only a certain number, maximum number of lizards or something like that as a refuge. But if you're trying to do it with kangaroos, maybe not. Okay. So, another thing that's pretty neat about this, and I'll try and get through this quickly, is there are some other sections in here where you can do like estimates. I think it's there. Nope. Oh, wait. Bear with me. These icons are really quite small, so I'm trying to find what I'm looking for. Infrastructure, no. I think it's here. Nope. Any more questions or comments? I know this is a little bit full on, a little bit difficult. Ah, there we go. Development fees estimate. Right. So some councils will have this and some won't. I like the fact that Logan actually does this based on your area. Obviously, the fees change depending on what it is that you're doing, and this is just a general idea, but it's really nice to see that they've thought about this. So the idea being, you select your block of land and then you can go and choose what it is that you're thinking of doing. So if you want to build a warehouse or shop, building accessible, then yeah, so Risk Smart is something that's just really, if you go to a town planner and they assess it quickly, usually it only costs about $300-400 depending, then it basically fast tracks it. So then you get an idea of how much the council fees will be worth for that application, for that situation, for your area. So again, if you're looking at an acre block of 4,000 square meters and you want to subdivide, then you get an idea of what sort of price it will be before you even purchase the property, which is pretty cool. Now, most places will have some form of fact sheet to help you with things. I won't get too involved in them, but I'm just trying to find the really, really good ones. Aha. A lot of times you'll get questions about things like garages and sheds, because you'll find even if you buy a shed from Bunnings, they'll say, check with your local council. Like, well, that's very helpful. So these are the types of places, if you look for their fact sheets, you type into their search, look for garages and sheds, then it will go through this process of, okay, do I need development approval? Generally, no. If you do it to a certain size and you do things, offset from the boundary appropriately. And look, I mean, Logan have a nice little check sheet that you can go through. And they also have links to the last part that I want to talk about, which is the development code. Now, this is where every state will be different. I'm going to come back in here because I'm going to do a lot of talking. So Northern Territory works based on the whole of the Northern Territory, and there's one document that is the territory document or state document that has all of the information in it. And there's a few addendums to the back which will have, okay, in Palmerston, in this suburban area, do X, Y, Z. In Alice Springs, X, Y, Z. So it's like an addendum that overrides anything in that main document. The Queensland Development Code is very similar in that regard. So it's this whole development code for all of Queensland. And so residential homes on blocks of land under 450 square meters have a set of rules associated with them, which I'll show you in a minute. And then the council rules on top of that, which would apply with overlays and things like that, are what supersede certain parts of that development code, if that makes sense. So you've got the Queensland Development Code and then all these little add-ons from council. So I always start with the council and then work my way backwards. Some people do it the other way, but I think for the purposes of you guys, if you're not, working in the industry, I would do it. Start with your block of land, see what you can do first, and then go backwards. So there are a few very important and useful things in here. I'm just gonna scroll through most of the beginning of this because it's just explaining what everything means. But it's got a few neat little figures in here that sort of show you setbacks and what it actually means. So you can't build on 100% of your block of land. And I've had conversations with people before where they've gone, oh, we want to build out the front. I go, well, that's great, but you can't because there's a setback from the front of the road, and it's to allow for lots of things. There might be services under the ground that connect to your house. There's also a certain sense of street frontage that you want to keep for the whole street. So if everybody was built right up to the front boundary, then you'd have nowhere to walk, or you'd have barely anywhere to walk, or anywhere to park a car for that matter, if you had off-street parking, things like that. Some of the older areas, the offsets, the setbacks and things are very different. And of course, if you're on a corner block, it's different again, or if you're on a main arterial, different again. So this shows very clearly what that actually means. And see things like this as street type. So the minimum front setback, if there's a side access street, is 3 meters. If it's a front, it's 4 meters. But this is only for lots that are smaller than 450 square meters. So the rules, if I just go back, oh, it's loading. For lots, for single housing on lots over 450, that will give me a different setback. It should be, from memory, 6 meters. 6 meters, there you go. And it will tell you exactly what sort of setback you need from the sides, what that relates to. See, here's a corner. See this whole corner down here? People think, oh yeah, I can build on that. No, you really can't. There are some instances where you have, say, an open carport. Generally in Logan and Brisbane City, and in most councils I've come across, actually, you can do a 6x6 open-aired carport on your front boundary, but it has to be open. You see some places where they've got a roller door at the front, but everything around the side is open. Looks nicer, and that works in some places, but again, you've got to make sure you can do it. So yeah, I mean, it looks a little bit drab and droll, but these sort of little figures actually help to try and explain what it is they're trying to do. And ultimately, it's all about making sure that everybody's doing everything that's right for everyone else. If we all had built on every single part of our block of land, then you would be having a shower with your neighbour, which nobody really wants to do, I don't think. Okay, so any other questions? Because I know that this is really quite heavy, but I hope that's really helped people to sort of get a bit of an idea of where to find information and have a look. I think we've got a couple more minutes. I might just have a quick look at the Sunshine Coast just because, see how we can find it. Oops, helps if you spell it right. Here we go. Sunshine Coast interactive mapping. Boom. I think that's it. Are there any other questions? Remembering I will be posting these links. Oh, yeah, here we go. I will be posting these links at the end. And also don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date. And feel free to comment or message us with information that you want to know. So at the moment, I'm thinking we might do some plumbing or electrical guests next. I was talking with a concreter today, so we might be able to do that. Talking about the differences between polished and epoxy and all that sort of stuff. What is the maximum size garden shed that can be installed without approval? That entirely depends on which zone you're in. From the top of my head, like a 1.5 meter by like 1.5 or 2 meter long one, provided it's away from the house. So if it's down the very back, you're pretty much right with. It's when you start getting to 3x3s that you've got to start worrying. The main thing with, I'll just do this. The main thing with all of this sort of stuff is they want to make sure that everybody's safe. So they don't want a big 3x3 garage that's got a whole heap of flammables in it, like petrol for your lawnmower, right next to your neighbour's house and your house, because there's a potential fire risk that could then very immediately spread to the two houses. So if you've got a big shed that's down in the back corner that's away from your house, and if it's in the back corner, chances are it's a little bit away from the other house, then they've got a bit of time to put the fire out, or you know what's going on. It's not hidden and then boom, you're sitting in the lounge room one day and your house is on fire. So yeah, again, check. But generally, those little ones that you can just purchase as a kit and put together yourself that are sort of like a 1.5 by 2 meters, you're pretty much right with. I would say though, make sure you put a slab underneath it and make sure it's away from the house. So I know in Logan, 1.5 meters away from any part of the main dwelling, you're normally pretty right with in terms of an offset. But of course, it depends. So I hope that answered your question a little bit, but you do need to check. And they're normally classed as, the name escapes me now. I had it just before. It's too late in the day. They're not ancillary. They're non-habitable. There is a definition. I will find out what the definition is later on. It'll probably come to me as soon as I log off, and I'll post it. But that's what you need to be looking for. But yeah, so this is the Sunshine Coast map, and it is very similar. So I can even just zoom in and pick somewhere in Budrum. Okay, let's go into Budrum. What's this one? Oh, I've probably gone in a bit too far now. Oh. We have some information. My location. No, oh no. No. Don't do that. Let's have a sticky beak. Layers. This is a great fun to fiddle with, by the way. You can measure things and stuff. Sunshine Coast, Maps page. There should be a way for me to just click on it. It's not doing it. All right, let's just go Elizabeth Street. Right. There we go. Oh yeah, all that same sort of information. There's still a little bit more than the previous one, but oh, I better put that back up so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. See, that's a completely different council, same sort of information. So yeah, I hope that has helped. Any final questions before we sign off? I'm just gonna post the subscribe form here. If you want to subscribe so you can get up to date, keep up to date with our next Totally Wicked live Q&A. If you think of any questions, again, ask us. No more questions. If you have any more questions, I will answer them later. And I will, David, I will remember what that is. I'm pretty sure I actually showed it just before, like about 20 minutes ago, but it's really going to bug me until I find out the name of what they call garages and sheds again in Logan. But thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously, if you found any of this helpful, it'd be great if you could tag someone who you know would find it helpful as well. Tune in next month for to be confirmed. It might be electrical, it might be plumbing, or it might be concreting. You'll have to just wait and find out. But thank you so much for tuning in, and have a totally wicked evening. Thanks, guys.